This past weekend, we got a pair of 5-month-old kittens. Their names are Citrine and Topaz. It was a temporary foster situation where we were just holding them until they were able to transfer to their next foster. One of the rescues that we work with brings in kittens from the surrounding areas that might have overcrowded shelters. So these kittens were in a transport van from West Virginia, just several hours away. Since there's no litter box, they occasionally have accidents. So Citrine had some fecal matter trapped in her fur. Before giving her a bath, I decided to trim her nails because I've never given a bath to a kitten this old. She's only 5 months, but it's still older than we're used to. And I wanted to avoid getting hurt from any of the scratching or clawing that might happen during that process. Before we took her in, one of the rescue workers shared that she was feeling low energy and lethargic and to keep an eye on her. So we decided to wait until the morning to give her a bath when we knew that her energy levels were back to normal. Citrine came with her brother Topaz, who was also in the transport van. He didn't have any accidents, so he didn't need a bath. I'm gonna pat her a little bit before you put her in the water. She's really good with getting her nails cut, but for some cats it's a pretty traumatic experience, so we don't want to do twice as much. She's purring. Okay, you're good pausing on that. That's all we need for the room. We normally get kittens that are between a few weeks old and 2 months old, so we're able to wash them in the bathroom sinks. At 5 months, this is a bigger kitten, so we will be using the kitchen sink. Before doing that, I clear everything off and I disinfect the sink and the countertop with bleach. I also thoroughly rinse that off to make sure the sink is ready for Citrine's bath. Another round of disinfecting also happens after the bath. So I fill the bath with some water and use some Dawn dish soap, making sure it's at a good temperature, and I gently place Citrine in to see how she initially reacts. She doesn't seem to be alarmed at the feel of the water or the temperature, which is good, so I start putting some water and foam on her fur to start dislodging some of the clumps that might be stuck. Once she's gotten used to being in the sink, I then will switch to using a washcloth to start rubbing up her paws. Most of the mess is around her hind legs and her tail, and that's just because of where she happened to be sitting when or after she had her accident. Citrine is handling this fantastically. At this point, a lot of cats will be clawing, trying to get out, or struggling with being in the water, but she seems to know that something good is happening. So I'll just use the washcloth to continue rubbing any clumps or fecal matter out of her hind paws and around her tail area. How long a kitten bath takes largely depends on the cat and the mess. So Citrine's mess was mostly on the back half of her body, and she's a very calm cat that responds well to the bath. So it really only took about 5 minutes of prep and 5 minutes of the actual bath time where she's in the water. After I rinsed her out, I try to get some of the excess water off of her fur just by pushing down on her fur and then gently squeezing at the bottom. And then right here is where I would then transfer her over to a towel and start getting her dry. You can see she's also comfortable with a towel. Then I'm able to pick her up and try to keep her warm. This part is really important. You know, kittens aren't great at regulating their own body temperature, so they need a good heat source around. So that means we want to stable her body temperature as quickly as possible. So the towel is great for getting the excess water off, so I'll rub the parts of her fur that are the most damp, especially around her. She's a pretty fluffy cat, so around her head, neck, and back areas, definitely her tail as well. This doesn't provide a heat source though, and if you try to towel dry a cat, it'll only last so long and take care of so much of the water. So after this, we're going to move over to using a hairdryer. So what's helpful about a hairdryer is that it has a heat source, right? So it'll help make sure that Citrine is able to maintain her body temperature. I use a diffuser on my hairdryer to lessen the intensity of the heat that's used when we're drying her using a hairdryer. I don't want her to get too cold. Okay, her stomach. She does have her spay incision, but it's been over the past 2 weeks, so it's safe to bathe her, but we still want to be a little bit careful around that. Pretty nervous about bathing a kitten this old. She's about 5, almost 6 months old. Never done that before, but she was just such a calm little sweetheart. Such a good kitty. So a hairdryer can be pretty intimidating to a cat or kitten that hasn't felt or heard a hairdryer. To help with that, I will turn the hairdryer on and face it away from her so she gets used to the noise first. After a few moments of seeing that she doesn't really have a reaction, I will turn it towards her but still keep it a good distance away. Now the temperature is on warm and it's on a low setting, and again the diffuser does spread that heat out a bit so it's not as hot. I make sure to ruffle up Citrine's fur while I'm using a hairdryer so that her fur doesn't stick together and it's easier to dry when her fur is less clumpy. So I'll probably pet her for the rest of the time that we're working on getting her dry. I'm going to go ahead and start fast forwarding this. I do spend a lot of time working on drying her and any of the kittens that we give baths to. So I'll run through her fur multiple times, making sure that there aren't any damp spots left. You don't want to use a dryer on a kitten or cat too often. I only do this when giving cats a bath, and even that should be rare. Cats don't need baths. They are perfectly capable of cleaning themselves really well. We only give baths in circumstances where they have fleas or lice. Another situation where a bath is okay is if the mess is too big or difficult for the cat themselves to clean, just like Citrine's mess from the transport van. It would have taken her days, if not longer, and then it's also just a mess we want to get taken care of quickly so that it doesn't cause any infections or conditions after that. Now that we're done with the hairdryer, I'll go through and fluff her fur over one more time using a drier part of the towel. Some of her fur is still damp in a few places, especially around her tail and hind legs. Then I just lift her up and keep the hairdryer on, letting the hairdryer get those harder to reach places when she's sitting. Thank you. So now that she's dry for the most part, we're going to move her out of this wet towel and into a dry towel for a little bit just to keep her warm. We have her snuggle safe in the microwave, and she'll get to keep that with her to warm right back up. That's it. She's all cleaned up. You want to come and tell the camera how it was recording for the first time? Being the person behind the camera? No. Abdul says no. And then this is the last kitty's brother or sister. Honestly, we only have them for a few hours, so I didn't take a good look at their files. But their names are Citrine and Topaz, which are, I think, November birthstones, because we initially thought they were born in November, but they're actually born in August. They're really friendly and comfortable kittens. So we have Citrine over here, wrapped nicely in a dry towel. Below her is a snuggle safe, which is heated, so she'll be able to keep warm and do really well. You can see Topaz, her brother, is happy to see her. He actually gets in there and gives her a few snuggles. It's really sweet. And that's it. Now Citrine and Topaz are ready to go into their new foster home and stay there until they find their forever homes.